When I returned home from studying abroad, my childhood sweetheart had already become a powerful CEO and was passionately involved with my replacement. His mother approached me. 10 million. Get back with my son. I politely declined. Ma'am, you know, a proper first love should be as good as dead. 100 million. Deal or not? No problem. I guarantee your satisfaction. The day I landed, I got a long-lost call as soon as I got off the plane. Seeing the caller ID labeled sponsor, I smiled and answered, "Hello, Mum. My ex's mother was my sponsor and a crucial angel investor who had funded my studies abroad. Jennifer Delaney, I'm offering you 10 million to get back with my son." "Ma'am, what are you talking about? Luke Dawson and I broke up 3 years ago. Besides, you should know these days even pork prices have gone up. 30 million. Get rid of that little girlfriend of his." "Ma'am, you know, a proper first love should be as good as dead. How could I interfere in their relationship?" She seemed to know my ways, paused for a few seconds, then gritted her teeth. 100 million. Deal or not? As expected from my sponsor, so generous. I agreed without hesitation. No problem. Guaranteed satisfaction. Once I gave my confirmation, she immediately hung up, clearly not wanting to waste another second. 2 minutes later, I received a text notification. 30 million had been deposited into my account. As expected from an old client, so skilled at advance payments, I opened my account, smiling at the long string of numbers. Absolutely satisfied. The large screen at the airport was broadcasting the news. CEO Dawson spends 50 million on a luxury mansion for actress Jessica. I looked up and immediately saw that familiar face. After 3 years, Luke had grown even more handsome. The boyishness was completely gone, replaced by the charm of a mature man. His features had become even sharper. Only when he looked at the person next to him did a hint of softness appear. Beside him, Jessica's beautiful face bore at least a 50% resemblance to mine. I couldn't help but chuckle. "Luke, you're playing the substitute game too, huh?" 3 years ago, after my parents died in a car accident, and the Delaney family went bankrupt, I became an orphan at 18, kicked out by my greedy relatives. In the pouring rain, Luke pulled me into his arms and promised, "Jennifer, don't be afraid. I'll protect you." I clung to him, drawing warmth from his body. He was too young then, with nothing but a sincere heart. He carefully offered it to me, but sincerity is the cheapest currency. So, when his mother came to me with a check for 10 million, asking me to leave him, I didn't think much before agreeing. On the day I left, Luke called me countless times, begging again and again, "Jennifer, don't go. I can take care of you. Please, don't leave me." Always acting like a big brother in front of me. His voice cracked with tears for the first time. I gently comforted him, told him to behave, then turned around and blacklisted him. I submitted my resume to Dawson's jewelry design company, rented an apartment near the office, and opened my phone to start investigating what had happened in the 3 years since I left. What I found shocked me. In just 2 years, Luke had gone from a nobody in the company to a CEO who held absolute power. My childhood sweetheart had become a domineering CEO overnight. He even ruthlessly sidelined his own mother from the company. As for how he met Jessica Miller, it was straight out of a cliché drama. A year ago, Jessica wasn't as famous as she is now. Her unscrupulous agent lured her to a party, intending to sell her to some big shot looking for a young starlet. The two sides hit it off immediately. Unaware, Jessica became the prey, but Luke stepped in like a hero, saving a damsel in distress, winning her heart. Since then, usually indifferent to women, Luke seemed bewitched. He not only took Jessica to countless high-end events, but openly provided her with resources and connections. Though they never made their relationship public, the public had long assumed they were together. A CEO and a starlet. I clicked my tongue, reading fan fiction written by netizens, and silently sighed. These fans can really write. While some parts were fictionalized, most details matched the real-life gossip known by those following the rich and famous. For example, Jessica's background: an orphan raised in an orphanage, graduated from a second-tier college, but fought her way up from being an extra to leading lady, a truly inspirational rise. For example, Luke's devotion: buying her jewelry, dresses, mansions, introducing her to directors, giving her resources. And the obstacles in their love story. Luke's mother didn't like Jessica. Luke repeatedly defied his mother for her. After reading all this, I finally understood why my sponsor contacted me the moment I returned home. Back then, Luke stubbornly refused to listen to his mother, insisting on dating me, a fallen heiress without parents. My sponsor showed no mercy, throwing a check at me to make me leave. Now, with him confronting his mother again for a new girlfriend, my sponsor probably even had thoughts of eliminating Jessica. After settling in my apartment with the little puppy I bought, I patted its tiny head and said, "Money, come to mama, good baby." The phone rang. "Ms. Jennifer, your resume has been approved. When can you start working?" "Tomorrow is fine." Hanging up, I kissed the little Samoyed. Lucky puppy. The money really came. Early the next morning, I put on my professional attire and stepped into Dawson Tower. "Wow, you're Jennifer?" As soon as I entered the office, a ponytailed girl ran over and stood beside me. "I'm Julia. I love your designs. Especially the Rose Love Letters series. I never imagined I'd one day work with you." "Ah." I smiled and said, "Thank you. That series is my favorite too." After all, the inspiration for Rose Love Letters came from Luke. Julia was very enthusiastic, chatting about the company and office gossip, helping me gradually adapt to this new environment. 2 days later, Julia suddenly rushed over to my desk and whispered, "Did you hear? The big boss is coming to inspect this morning." I frowned. "Which boss?" "Mr. Luke. And rumor has it he's bringing his girlfriend." "Luke and Jessica?" Hearing Julia's words, I immediately grabbed my makeup kit and headed to the restroom. I thought it would take some time to get close to Luke, but it turned out I'd get to see him so soon. Facing an ex, I couldn't afford to lose my edge. Once word spread that Luke was coming, the entire floor grew restless. Only when the supervisor stepped out of the elevator with a man and a woman did everyone finally quiet down. Luke was holding Jessica's hand, their fingers interlocked, looking very close. Julia nudged me from behind. "Hey, what are you spacing out for? The boss wants the design team in the conference room." Snapping back to reality, I followed her to the meeting room. Luke sat at the head of the table, his back straight, his sharp suit making his posture even more upright. As we walked in, he glanced toward the door. The moment our eyes met, I was curious to see his reaction, but he merely cast me a brief look and quickly shifted his gaze away, as if looking at a stranger. Bitterness welled up inside me, but I pushed aside the discomfort and found a seat. The department head nodded and bowed. "Mr. Dawson, Miss Jessica, the design team is all here." Luke raised his eyebrows at Jessica. "You pick." Jessica turned to us with a smile. "Sorry to bother you all. Your boss insisted on designing my anniversary gift personally. I'll be counting on you." What a public display of affection. I can smell the stench of love. Julia whispered in my ear, "By the way, am I seeing things? Or do you kind of look a lot like Mr. Dawson's girlfriend?" Before I could answer, Jessica suddenly asked, "I heard Jennifer just joined us. Can I meet her?" Under everyone's gaze, I smiled and stepped forward. "Hello, I'm Jennifer." Jessica looked at me, feigning surprise. "I love your work. I didn't expect that not only do we have similar tastes, but we also look so alike." A provocation? Definitely a provocation. So Luke's little girlfriend wasn't exactly a pushover. But that's fine, I'm no saint either. Yeah, I didn't expect it either. After 3 years, Mr. Dawson's taste hasn't changed a bit. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, met Luke's gaze, and added with a smile, "After all the switching, he still prefers this type." Jessica's face darkened. Luke couldn't stay calm either. His dark eyes locked onto me as he sneered. unlike some people who turn cold and ruthless at the drop of a hat. The co-workers nearby started sensing the tension. They exchanged glances, their gossiping spirits fully ignited. "Jennifer, you sure love to joke." As if trying to cut the conversation short, Jessica stepped between us, blocking Luke's gaze. She forced a smile and said lightly, "All right then. It's settled. My anniversary gift will be in your hands." She emphasized the words, "anniversary gift," as if to highlight how much Luke valued her. Unfortunately for her, I wasn't the least bit affected. "No problem. Just remember, 30% deposit up front. Business is business. Even the boss's girlfriend doesn't get special treatment." The room fell silent. The balding department head looked like he wanted to stab me with his glare. From his squinting eyes, I could read 8 words. Reckless, outrageous, no sense of propriety. Luke stood up, his tall figure radiating pressure. He let out a cold chuckle. "Don't worry, you'll get what's yours." With that, he strode out of the room. The department head sighed and asked me, "Jennifer, what did you see in Mr. Dawson's back just now?" I blinked. "Tall and handsome?" "Wrong. Blazing fury." The department head shook his head in disappointment. "A bright future lies ahead of you, and you don't even know how to cherish it." He left with a wave, while my co-workers cast looks at me, some with sympathy, some gloating. Only Julia looked at me with concern. "Jennifer, being straightforward isn't a bad thing, but in the workplace, you need to be a little more shrewd." "Me?" I pointed at myself, not quite understanding. "I'm plenty shrewd." Julia opened her mouth to say more, but my phone on the desk buzzed. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. I smiled apologetically and picked it up. After answering, a stranger's voice came through. "Hello, Miss Jennifer. This is Mr. Dawson's assistant. He has something to say to you." I let out a little. "Oh, CEOs these days. Need assistance just to deliver a message?" There was a pause. After 2 seconds, a familiar voice came through, gritting his teeth. "Jennifer, if you want the deposit, take me off your blacklist." I smacked my forehead, realizing I'd nearly forgotten. Luke's phone and WeChat had been on my blacklist for 3 years. Guess it was time to let them out for some air. Right after removing Luke from my blacklist, I looked up and met Julia's burning gaze. "It was Mr. Dawson, wasn't it? I've been dying to ask what's really going on between you two." I closed my eyes and summed it up in 5 words. Ex-boyfriend. Been there. Done that. Julia's jaw dropped wide enough to swallow an egg. That evening, while out walking my dog, Money, a new transfer popped up on WeChat. I opened it. A new message appeared at the top of the chat window. No note attached, just the letter J. The blue avatar looked familiar, stirring up old, blurry memories. That summer had been scorching. I got obsessed with the song Coral Sea, listening on repeat, humming "The bird and the fish fell in love." It was just an accident, while walking, and sketching seascapes on my tablet. Whenever I was hunched over drawing, biting my pen, Luke would come bother me. Back then, I still had my baby fat. He always poked my cheek and said, "You love the sea that much? One day I'll buy you an island so you can see it every day." I glared at him. "How many times have I told you? Don't touch my face." The boy grinned like a fool. "Your face is so chubby, like a marmot." That was really uncalled for. In retaliation, I drew a picture of a boy sitting alone on an island, pointed at the back view, and threatened Luke, "Call me a marmot again and I'll throw you this lame duck on a deserted island." Snapping back to the present, I stared at the familiar picture on my screen, feeling dazed. Luke had actually kept this drawing and even used it as his avatar. But wasn't he terrified of water? Suddenly, a tug came from my hand. Money barked twice in one direction, then turned to look at me eagerly. I looked up. It was the pet store where I'd bought his food and treats. "You little thing, your memory's pretty sharp." I patted Money's head, smiling as he nuzzled me. and stuck out his silly little tongue. And lucky too. Just so happens Mommy has money now. Come on, let's go shopping. Money dashed forward impatiently. I tightened the leash, freeing one hand to confirm receipt of payment, and sent Luke a generous boss meme in reply. Since designing the gift for Luke's girlfriend had fallen to me, the department head generously gave me time off to focus on the project, instructing me to coordinate directly with Luke if anything came up. I slept in contentedly until I woke up naturally. As I was lounging on the sofa, petting my dog, a text notification chimed 5 million had been deposited into my bank account. Counting the zeros, I was both surprised and delighted. Since when did my sponsor become so generous? Could it be that they were dissatisfied with my lack of progress and sent this as a little reminder? The financial incentive instantly fired me up. Resting my chin on my hand, I opened the chat window. Mr. Dawson, are there any specific details you want for the anniversary gift? 5 minutes later, Luke replied, too complicated to explain over text. Come to the Dawson residence for a face-to-face meeting. Perfect! I jumped up from the sofa, picked out a beautiful outfit, did a flawless no-makeup look, and walked into Luke's office. Though he tried to stay composed, I still caught the brief sparkle in his eyes when he saw me. Piece of cake. After escorting me in, the assistant tactfully left and shut the door behind him. Now it was just me and Luke in the spacious office. Today, he wore a black shirt buttoned all the way up, exuding a restrained, almost ascetic charm. He looked really good. Very proper. Noticing my stare, Luke raised an eyebrow. What are you looking at? I answered smoothly. Looking at how handsome and charismatic Mr. Dawson is. Luke snorted coldly. Flirtatious. I thought you call that not flirtatious. Try keeping your lips from curling up then. I pursed my lips, took out my tablet, and showed him several templates. What kind of gift does Mr. Dawson want to give his girlfriend? A bracelet or ring is simple, just incorporate some meaningful elements from your relationship. If it's a necklace, we can add more design features. Luke, ever the big spender, said, how about a full set? I smiled professionally. Of course. He glanced at me coolly, his long fingers tapping the desk. Use the same concept as rose love letters. Absolutely not. Seeing his nonchalant expression, I couldn't smile anymore. A surge of anger rose inside me. Rose love letters holds memories between me and my ex-boyfriend. I doubt Mr. Dawson's girlfriend would appreciate a gift laced with someone else's memories. Oh, really? Luke's voice was low, his gaze meaningful. Miss Jennifer seems quite sentimental. You must have loved your ex very much. I nodded. Yes. After all, the dead don't come back. This is my only way of remembering him. Luke's smile froze instantly. He stood up and walked toward me, his whole aura turning cold. His voice carried a chill. Funny. I wasn't aware I had passed away. Weren't you the one who pretended not to recognize me? Maybe it was because I knew him too well. But even with his cold expression, I wasn't scared at all. I pouted and spoke bluntly. You want me to copy Rose Love Letters? Are you trying to disgust me or her? Rose Love Letters was my proudest work, and its inspiration came from the man standing before me. Back then, the Delaney family business was thriving, and my parents sent me to a prestigious private school. I was a freshman, and Luke was 1 grade ahead. A campus legend, the kind who'd get punished for a morning offense but receive an award that very afternoon. On my first day, Luke casually threw an arm around me, grinning wildly. From now on, I've got your back. Fighting, studying, I've got it all covered. Back then, we were childhood sweethearts. We went to and from school together, visited food streets, secretly competed in the library on weekends until a love letter appeared on my desk. These things had been happening since the start of school, so I was used to it. I was about to toss it without a second thought when a sweet rose fragrance caught my nose. My nostrils twitched, and my gaze fell on the seemingly ordinary letter. The strong, elegant handwriting was quite pleasing, but I recognized it instantly. It was Luke's. After school, As usual, Luke came to my class to pick me up. His ears were red, his voice hoarse from puberty, as he scratched the back of his head shyly. Shelby, I want to be your boyfriend. Is that okay? Bathed in the sunset glow at the stairway, I took 2 steps down, tossed him my backpack, and smiled playfully. Let's see how you perform. From then on, a love letter appeared on my desk every afternoon during 3rd period. Each letter carried the scent of roses and romantic words, an unforgettable part of my youth. That's why, when I became a jewelry designer, my first piece was Rose Love Letters. It was also the work that shot me to international fame. Luke seemed momentarily at a loss for words. You left me. I thought you wouldn't care about this anymore. His voice was low and unreadable. Sensing the key point, I immediately asked, so if I regret it now, is it still too late? Luke jerked his head up, his gaze intense and passionate. Our eyes met, and I suddenly felt guilty. The next second, Luke showed off his classic change of face. He sneered. What kind of dream are you having in broad daylight? Fine. I wouldn't lose my temper. I took a deep breath to stay calm. So, how do you want the anniversary gift designed? Luke adjusted his cuffs nonchalantly. Up to you. The boss had spoken. I could proceed freely. Still, out of professional ethics as a jewelry designer, I asked, would Mr. Dawson mind sharing your love story with me? Luke glanced sideways. Curious, are you? No. It's for design inspiration. He glanced at his phone, then stood up. But I need to go home for dinner now. No problem. I'm hungry too. I shamelessly added. One more pair of chopsticks won't bother you, right? Why not chat after dinner? Thanks to my thick skin, I successfully got into Luke's car. The driver was already a bit surprised to see me, and when Luke said we were going to the old house, his expression turned visibly shocked. Amused, I waved at the driver. Uncle, were you about to say that I'm the first woman young master has ever brought home? The driver shook his head and answered honestly, Miss Jessica has been there many times. My smile gradually faded. Hearing our conversation, Luke turned to me, his eyes full of mocking amusement. Did you think you were that special? Just joking, Mr. Dawson. Don't take it so seriously, I retorted. You really have no sense of humor. Luke said nothing. We sat on opposite sides of the back seat like bitter enemies, keeping our distance. The car's air conditioning was set to a comfortable temperature, and before long, I started dozing off. Half asleep, I felt something lightly touch my face. When the car stopped, I rubbed my eyes and looked warily at Luke. Did you just pinch my face? The man remained perfectly composed, not flustered in the slightest. No. You were just sleeping so soundly that your face turned and brushed against my hand. I looked at him suspiciously. Really? We were sitting so far apart, him on one end, me on the other, and yet I accidentally bumped into him. Following Luke into the Jiang estate, we were greeted by an elegant and regal-looking woman. No wonder she's my sponsor, truly refined. The moment I saw her, all I could picture was the endless string of zeros in my bank account. I immediately put on a sweet smile. Hello, ma'am. Long time no see. Jennifer? Mrs. Dawson was momentarily surprised to see me. She glanced between Luke and me, then gave me an approving nod. I heard you've returned to the country. What brings you here today? I smiled shyly. I needed to speak with Luke and thought I'd grab a bite while I was at it. Sorry to trouble you today. Oh, it's no trouble at all. You're always welcome here any time. During dinner, Mrs. Dawson kept glancing between Luke and me, her face full of that doting, motherly smile, constantly adding food to my plate. She was nothing like the woman she used to be back when Luke and I were dating. Her enthusiasm was almost overwhelming. Come upstairs with me, Luke said casually, wiping his mouth before heading toward the stairs. Miss Dawson shot me a look, and I immediately caught on, nodding and following after him. I thought he'd take me to the study, but instead he went straight into the bedroom and sat down on the sofa. Ask whatever you want. I hesitated. Miss Dawson, We're having this conversation here? Why not? He glanced at the large bed on the other side, his expression unreadable. Would you prefer we move over there? No, I exhaled. Then just tell me any memorable stories from your relationship. Luke spoke calmly. I was hoping to dig up some juicy details, but everything he shared was stuff I had already read online. Frankly, the gossip forums told the story better than he did. I was so bored I couldn't help but stifle a yawn. That's it, he said, glancing at me. Boring? A little. I stood up and looked at him. Well, if that's all, I'll be leaving now. Luke pointed toward the door, making it perfectly clear. There's the door. See yourself out. What a cold-hearted man, he wouldn't even spare a word. I slowly walked to the door but then turned back. He was looking down at his phone, not even sparing me a glance. Biting my lip, I suddenly rushed back to him. Luke! He looked up upon hearing my voice. In that instant, I leaned down and kissed him hard on the lips, before immediately turning and running away. I left so fast I didn't notice the blank screen on his phone, or the smile that slowly crept into his eyes. Since Luke wasn't much help, I went home and did more online research. After diligently studying their relationship and considering Jessica's personal style, I designed a set of jade jewelry for her. What I didn't expect was that Jessica wore it on the red carpet and absolutely stole the show. The trending headline that day was Jennifer-Jessica Power Duo. If I weren't involved, I might have shipped them myself. My sponsor was hosting a birthday banquet and specially invited me mainly to give me a chance to get close to her son. I fretted for days over what gift to bring, and in the end, reluctantly dipped into my savings to buy her a pair of red agate earrings. Following the motto of you have to give to gain, I spent a full $5,000. I thought I was being quite generous, but when I arrived, Jessica, the so-called future daughter-in-law, completely outdid me. In front of all the guests, she sweetly clung to my sponsor's arm. Auntie, I'm gifting you 30 million. My heart sank. Damn it, how did I not think of that move? I wish you endless happiness, endless health, and endless joy. With each phrase, my sponsor's face grew darker. By the end, she was one step away from throwing her a dirty look, her expression practically shouting, You think I can even pretend to be happy? Thanks to Jessica's grand display, my otherwise simple and modest earrings now looked quite tasteful by comparison. I sincerely thanked Jessica, who knew a big-time celebrity could be this stingy. My sponsor picked up the red agate earrings and specially called Luke over to show off. Look at Jennifer, such good taste. This gift suits me perfectly. Look at the color of this agate. She was about to continue her speech, but suddenly got stuck while trying to compliment my online purchase, unable to flatter it any further. So she switched tactics and, with a bitter face, asked Luke, Son, does Jessica have something against me? Mom, don't overthink it. She's just too simple-minded. Jessica appeared out of nowhere and quickly added, That's right, Auntie. I'm good at everything except social niceties. Please forgive me. My sponsor's face had turned nearly black, while Jessica wore a smug expression that practically said, Your son loves me. What can you do about it? Luke remained silent, perfectly embodying the phrase forgetting his mother for his girlfriend. My sponsor scanned the room, shot me a look, clearly signaling, Go, now's your chance. Catching on, I immediately confronted Jessica. This has nothing to do with social skills. It's your elder's birthday, and you didn't even prepare a proper gift. Do you have any respect for Auntie at all? Clinging to Luke's sleeve, Jessica put on a pitiful act. Auntie is always in my heart. There's no room for anyone else. My sponsor's mouth twitched, and even I had to resist rolling my eyes. Meanwhile, Luke stood by like none of this concerned him, which was seriously annoying. I stepped forward, grabbed Jessica's hand, and said, Sweetheart, your sincerity is touching, but you're just a stand-in. Sooner or later, you'll have to make room for me. Why complicate things? Just know your place. I tilted my chin at Luke and asked with feigned innocence, Right, Luke, darling. I had to admire my own ability to twist those 4 words around so flirtatiously. Luke tightly pursed his lips, his usual cold expression intact, but the tips of his ears turned red. Jessica didn't notice. Like a mother hen, she protectively stood in front of Luke. What are you so proud of? You're his past. Even if we got together because of my face, now he loves me for who I am. I glanced between the two of them, covering my mouth with a laugh. Loves you? I don't see it. My mocking look must have been too obvious, because Jessica stomped her foot angrily. Luke, say something. Luke, darling, doesn't want to deal with you right now. For someone in showbiz, you really have no sense of timing. I grabbed a glass of red wine from a passing waiter, casually tilted my arm, and accidentally spilled it all over Jessica's pure white dress. I blinked innocently. Ah, so sorry, slipped my hand. Jessica stormed off to change, turning back every few steps as if worried I'd steal her boyfriend while she was gone. My sponsor had somehow slipped away too, clearly creating an opportunity for us to be alone. I flicked my curled hair off my shoulder and walked toward Luke in my heels. Luke lowered his eyes to look at me. Had enough fun? I didn't answer. Just as I was about to reach him, I suddenly stumbled to the side as if I lost my balance. In the next moment, a firm arm wrapped around my waist. I steadied myself by grabbing his shoulder and smiled. Guess my footing's a little slippery too. His expression stayed calm, his gaze sharp and deep. Is this what you've been learning these past 3 years? Of course not. I stood on my tiptoes, leaning close to his ear, my lips almost brushing against it. I always knew how to do this. I just never used it on you before. I saw his ears, which had just returned to normal, gradually turn red again. Yet he seemed oblivious, his face impassive as he coldly remarked, "Clumsy tricks. Clumsy didn't matter as long as they worked." I pretended not to hear, took a sip of juice to moisten my throat, and continued. She said we're in the past, but the past can always turn into the present, Luke. Actually, I've been wanting to ask you since that day we haven't seen each other for 3 years. Did you miss me? He lifted his eyelids slightly, his gaze emotionless. Not even a little. I huffed. Liar, you're so stubborn. You were the one who walked away back then. And now you're the one trying to seduce me. Luke narrowed his eyes, voice low and cold, exuding a quiet intensity. Jennifer, do you think I'm some toy you can summon and discard at will? Of course not. I flashed him a soft, sweet smile. It was all my fault back then. I didn't know any better. What do I need to do for you to forgive me? Beg me? I thought I misheard. What? His voice was raspy and unreadable. Beg me, like I once made him beg over the phone. He hadn't said it outright, but I understood he wanted to reclaim his dignity from that moment. I wasn't as proud as he was. I was more than willing to bow for 100 million. So, under Luke's astonished gaze, I lowered my head, pouted, and pleaded pitifully. Please, Luke darling, forgive my foolishness back then, okay? I love you so much I can't live without you. Seeing him somewhat moved, I was about to press my advantage when something suddenly popped into my head. I forgot to refill Money's dog food this morning. My precious boy, he's still growing. He must be starving. The almost fallen tears instantly dried up. I told Luke, hold on, I need to make a call. Turning away, I pulled out my phone and found Julia's number. Hey, Jojo. Emergency favor. I left in a rush this morning and forgot to top off Money's food. If you're free, could you feed him for me? Yes, there's a spare key under the flower pot at the door. He's a good boy. His toys are next to the sofa. You can use those to keep him happy. Got it. Thanks a ton. Mwah! After hanging up, I turned around and was startled by Luke standing right behind me. He had somehow crept up behind me, scowling. Your son? You mean Money? His sudden dark face confused me. I explained. I was worried he'd go hungry, so I asked my coworker to feed him. Before I could finish, Luke interrupted. spitting out coldly. Such a tacky name. My eyes widened. What did you say? I'd endured him calling me flirtatious and clumsy, but now he dared insult my precious baby's name. My son has the cutest, chubby little round face and eyes twice as big as yours. What's tacky about that? If he doesn't give me a proper explanation, I swear I'll have money bite him next time. Luke looked even angrier than me, face dark as a storm cloud. Jennifer, you've got a son and still dare to mess with me? You've really got guts. It wasn't until Luke's figure disappeared from sight that I finally realized, wait, does he think money is my biological son? I tried texting him to explain, but when I sent the message, a red exclamation mark popped up. Great, he blocked me. My sponsor came over smiling, swaying through the crowd. So, where's RC? Did he go get you something to eat? I pissed him off. I sighed. He even blocked me. I was finally experiencing firsthand what I once did to Luke. My sponsor's face changed instantly. What are you waiting for? Go find him before that little vixen swoops in. I felt a bit dazed. I was supposed to be playing the mistress, yet my sponsor's words made me feel oddly like the rightful wife. Just then, my phone lit up. Luke had unblocked me. I'll give you a chance to explain. My sponsor peeked at my screen, face lighting up. There's hope, I quietly typed. Actually, money is my dog's son, Luke quickly replied. Your son is my son. No. Our mutt wouldn't dare climb the Dawson ladder. And just like that, Luke and I were back together. I asked him, so what about Jessica? Luke rested his chin on his hand and thought for a moment. A very talented actress. His sudden humor stunned me for a second. Then I glared at him. You're unbelievable. Poor Jessica doesn't even get to be called an ex. Truly, only scumbags go looking for substitutes. I stared at him for a while, then looked down at my phone screen. My sponsor had sent the final payment. With the money secured, I figured it was best to retreat early. Luke noticed my gaze and leaned over to peek at my phone. I pushed him back by his hair. He chuckled. Still hiding it? You think I don't know? Know what? I turned off the screen, looked up, and played dumb. The deal between you and my mom. Luke sniffed the ends of my hair. Even she never gave me that much money. Clearly, she prefers you. I wasn't surprised he knew. Swatting his face aside, I said, that's only because your girlfriend kept pissing her off, which made me look like a perfect, gentle, virtuous daughter-in-law in comparison. As I spoke, a strange suspicion crept into my mind. Shocked, I stared at Luke. You did this on purpose? Luke lazily leaned back on the sofa and smiled at me. Idiot. You're just now figuring that out? He picked up his phone and pointed at the screen for me to see. A quick glance revealed a message from Jessica with only 4 words. Pleasure, doing business. In that instant, everything that had happened so far flashed through my mind. From the start, when they came to the company to order the anniversary gift, Jessica, as the stand-in, not only didn't avoid me, but even specifically requested me, insisting that the details be discussed privately with Luke. Hadn't she considered the possibility that old feelings might rekindle between us? Luke was supposedly designing the gift himself, yet he never lifted a finger. In the end, it was me putting in all the effort for Jessica. And Jessica was even stranger, disrespecting my sponsor, making empty promises at the birthday banquet. Repeatedly confronting her, none of it resembled how a starlet trying to marry into a wealthy family would behave toward her future mother-in-law. Luke wasn't wrong. My tricks were clumsy. But with these very clumsy tricks, Jessica was simply written off. Changing into a new dress should have taken only a few minutes, yet she never returned even after I left. Either she was utterly clueless, or everything she did served one purpose to displease Mrs. Dawson. And with the status she'd built in the entertainment industry, Jessica couldn't possibly be that naive. My heart raced. I suddenly felt like I had fallen into an enormous web. Luke appeared to be the prey, but had set this trap long ago, waiting for me to approach with full confidence, only to quietly extend his claws, consuming me completely. I took a deep breath. My gaze toward him completely changed. You even dragged your own mother into this? Mrs. Dawson thought she had chosen me, but she never realized this had all been part of Luke's plan from the start. Every disrespect Jessica showed her, every indulgence Luke gave, Jessica all of it subtly nudged her into wanting me back at Luke's side. How is that manipulation? Luke curled his lips slightly. My mother adores you now. She gets a perfect daughter-in-law. You get the money, I get you. Isn't that a win-win for everyone? I thought for a moment. I guess that does make sense. This cunning man, he was devious, but I had to admit, I shamelessly found myself falling for him again. Maybe being favored does make people fearless. Back then, I had the resolve to leave him and go study abroad to better myself. And now, I had the same resolve to walk back toward him. He didn't want my money or my dog, he only wanted me. Who could say no to a handsome husband who brings money and handles mother-in-law issues so perfectly? As expected, what was stolen must eventually be returned. After my parents passed, the Delaney company was carved up by my relatives. But they had no management skills, just greed. All they cared about was stuffing the company with their own people and collecting perks. Over 3 years, resentment festered within the company as Delaney's stock kept plummeting. After receiving the final payment from my sponsor, I poured in all my earnings from the past years and started buying up scattered shares. Step by step, I became the largest shareholder, driving those freeloading relatives out of the company. As for management, I had no expertise, so I hired a professional team of financial experts and happily returned to being a dog-loving, life-loving, carefree designer. Jennifer, how's my dream of Shang-Chi coming along? Jessica's voice called out excitedly. I put down my phone and opened the box on the table. A green diamond necklace lay inside, reflecting dazzling light under the sun. 3 million, pay up first, Jessica pouted. I'm a loyal customer. Can't I get a discount? I reminded her, you already got a massive discount. Don't push your luck. Though she grumbled, she eagerly held the necklace against her neck, her pretty features lighting up. Am I beautiful? Will I crush those 2 witches on the red carpet the day after tomorrow? Absolutely. I gave her a thumbs up. Queen Jessica reigns forever, dominating the red carpet. Grinning, Jessica packed up the necklace, counting on her fingers. This set cost quite a bit again. Good thing I still have a few villas Luke gave me back then. As she calculated, her smile grew wider, like she wanted to jump up and kiss me. Jennifer, you and your husband are truly my lucky stars. Meeting you two was the best thing that ever happened to me. In the distance, a few barks rang out. Jessica gasped. Your son's back. I'll slip away now. Soon enough, Money waddled over, tongue out, rubbing up against me. Luke followed behind in casual clothes, holding the leash. I patted Money's head, and he obediently sat at my feet. Good boy. Don't like going out with Daddy? Money barked twice. Then, next time, Mommy will take you out, okay? His soft little ears twitched as he nuzzled my hand and barked again. Luke casually wrapped an arm around me just like he had on our first day of high school. He leaned into my ear and began lecturing me on dog parenting with perfect seriousness. Honey, a dog's physical and emotional development requires both parents' joint involvement. In other words, I was never getting rid of him again. In the corner of my screen, a new answer popped up on the question I'd been browsing. The mirror was never broken to begin with, that's why it was so easy to mend. I never changed. I still love you.